probably don't know the full extent of my political ideology. You probably don't know the full extent of my politics. And Jordan Peterson is the kind of dude who has been able to so successfully hide himself as a liberal. Now, Jordan Peterson is not a liberal.
He's not a liberal, and Hasan is an extreme liberal. Extreme.
Liberal. I don't give a how much you try to say he's a liberal. You go to a Turning Point USA conference and you speak as a conservative speaker at the Turning Point USA conference alongside the likes of Tucker Carlson and numerous other people, then you're not a liberal.
That's just attacking his character, right? He's like, oh, you went to a conference that some bad guy went to, you must be a bad guy. No, that another person is a bad guy doesn't make Jordan Peterson a bad guy. Hasan.
You are literally a conservative. But a lot of people are new to politics, or they feel like Jordan Peterson maybe helped them, because Jordan Peterson does do regular self-help. Self-help is a grift overall, but oftentimes targeting the most vulnerable people.
I'm inclined to agree, actually. That's why I made a video called Tony Robbins is a Fraud.
Ripe for exploitation. And Jordan Peterson certainly filled that void for a lot of kids. Yeah, Jordan Peterson is a wonderful way to get young, disillusioned incels and libs into the right-wing pipeline.
Okay, all right. Yeah, this is just ad hominem attack garbage, right? It's like, oh, guys that can't get laid, yeah, they're being indoctrinated and becoming extremists. No. Telling guys clean your room and work on yourself it doesn't make a person a bad person, right? Or an extreme right-winger, right? Like, it's just so far from, like, reality. Anyway, I noticed how Hasan has a Bernie poster there. So, I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about what kind of person Hasan is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm confused. Everything I've seen from JBP has been positive and really helped me, and I'm a female. All right, well, I think your mind is going to be changed by the end of this end of this session.
There we go.
He is a clown, a grifter, and just a regular old conservative who really, and I mean really, capitalized on the I'm just a centrist. Of course I'm not a conservative. I'm just simply stating how far is too far for the radical left. He's postmodernist, neo-Marxist. Probably my best impression as well, but
okay, Hasan. Yeah, so Hasan is just basically, it's really funny that he would say that another person is a grifter when Hasan is a straight grifter, by the way. Hello and welcome to Helios blog. My name is Helios, here for another reaction video. If you're new to the channel, liking the content, hit the sub, hit all for notifications. If you'd like to support me, I do have a Patreon with exclusive content, patreon.com/theheliosblog. Just go there and subscribe to the Nebula tier. Again, guys, it's patreon.com/theheliosblog. You can also drop me a donation like Tom M here. Shoutouts to him. Yeah. To say that Jordan Peterson is a grifter coming from Hasan. Like, Hasan, the amount of arguments that Hasan makes that are logical and reasonable compared to the amount of ad hominem attacks he makes, which are just straight attacks on a person's character, is like 1 to 25. Yes, once in a while, in a blue moon, Hasan is able to use facts, data, and statistics. But 99% of the time, out of 100, he's using just straight ad hominem attacks. Like,
by the way, is Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is, of course, now making a comeback. Apparently, he has a new book that's going to come out. Maybe he'll add another 12 to the 12 rules that he originally came out with. Maybe he'll make it 24 rules. Who knows? Too many rules. Rules that he, of course, does not follow on his own, which is ironic because one of the rules is literally, clean your own home before you cap.
Yeah, okay, this I do agree with. I've talked very often about Michaela Peterson and how she is just so far removed from the advice that Jordan gives that it's just absurd and hilarious, right? To see the irony going on there. But yeah, that is true.
Cast a stone elsewhere before you focus on others' houses. Rugged individualism is a cancerous mentality, as you all already are very well aware of. Part of the reason why so many hogs don't want to wear fucking masks. That kind of rugged, individualistic, conservative mentality was absolutely at the heart of Jordan Peterson's ideology. So let's...
Okay, so Hasan is saying, like... okay. There is logic, and then there is Hasan logic. right? Like, where did he get the Jordan Peterson is the type of person to say don't wear a mask? You know, like, anyway, let's continue.
Take a look.
Making people bake a cake for a gay wedding.
Making them do it?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a very good idea.
But here's the argument. So should they be able to deny making a cake for a black couple if they don't like black people?
Allowed to? Probably. That doesn't mean it's right.
Okay, so then we had the civil rights movement where they said black people, you had to serve them in your restaurants and stuff like that. And it did work and it did make our society better. But would you argue that that still wasn't right?
No, that was right.
Why is that different to now if you didn't want to make a cake for black people?
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not different.
Brilliant, man. I mean, so brilliant that he got rolled by Jim fucking Jeffries.
Okay, yeah. He got caught in his own logic, but anyway, that's rough, buddy. That's rough. Now, here's the truth. Anyone can pull clips of you getting wrecked and then call you a bad person. Like, in 2022, it's very easy to do. Just watch a person's content and they will come out with, you know, they'll say something bad. And that's all you need, right? You can cut 1 minute clips of that and then just say, oh, you see, they're a terrible person. When really, like, every person at some point will say something that's bad, right? So, again, if we consider the bulk of Jordan's work as compared to what he just said there, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
here's Jordan Peterson contemplating whether or not to oppress the gays.
77 votes. Australia is holding a plebiscite on whether to legalize gay marriage. I'm against the Yes campaign, but only because it's backed by cultural Marxists. I'm curious to hear your views on gay marriage. Well, I would be against it too if it was backed by cultural Marxists, because it isn't clear to me that it will satisfy the ever-increasing, what would you call it, demand for an assault on traditional modes of being.
That's okay. So it's an interesting thing that's being posited by Jordan there, right? The idea that if the reason why the vote is happening is for, you know, allowing people to have rights, it's fine. But if the reason is actually to destroy the old way, right, which is, you know, basically like the old way of getting married, you know, the old culture, right, like what they had in the 50s, basically, in terms of, you know, the regular roles, you know, how men should behave, how women should behave, how people should be in a society, then it shouldn't be done, right? So it's an interesting point that he's making there.
Yeah. How is that any different than Republicans literally just being like, no, brother, I don't think marriage should be between a man and a woman?
But that's not what he's saying. He's saying he's not actually against marriage between people that are not heterosexual. What he's against is legalizing it for the sake of, you know, oh, we're in 2022 now. We don't need traditional gender roles. You know, we can just do whatever we want and society will be fine. Like, do you see the difference? There is a difference between these two arguments.
It's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Okay.
No, the only difference is he's an intellectual. He has draped himself with the robes of academia. So you fool, you pleb, you simpleton, you do not understand. You lack the brain processing power. Jordan Peterson makes you feel good because he's agreeing with you, but he's agreeing with you in the way that an intellectual at a college campus would say, offering you all of the confirmation biases that you want, all of your preconceived biases that you have from years.
Okay, that Hasan is saying this is just hilarious, right? Like, all the preconceived biases you have, like Hasan totally doesn't have those. No, he's a paragon of, you know, accepting both sides. Like, no, he's not. Like, obviously.
Years and years of social conditioning around conservative culture, he's telling you that it's all right to feel this way because I am an academic. Jordan Peterson is asked about same-sex adoption and he responds, let's see. Let's see what he has to say about that.
I think the devil's in the details, to tell you the truth. If I was ever talking to any individuals about that, the question is, well, how would you raise them? I mean, you have problems, right? If you're both of the same sex, then you're going to have the problem of how to provide the proper model for...
False. Absolutely zero evidence to this. As a matter of fact, all evidence on this issue points to the exact opposite of what Jordan Peterson is saying currently.
Okay, we identified, let's see what the study says. We identified 79 scholarly studies that met our criteria. Of those studies, 75 concluded that children of non-heterosexual parents fare no worse than other children. While many of the sample sizes were small and some studies lacked a control group, researchers regard such studies as providing the best available knowledge about child adjustment and do not view large representative samples as essential. We identified 4 studies concluding that children of these type of parents face added disadvantages. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, so the studies here in this very paragraph here, it says that those type of families have disadvantages. Now, of course, having a household with 2 parents is probably better than just 1 parent, regardless of the, you know, the orientation of the parents. But to say that it's, you know, superior to the, you know, regular old-fashioned system, I mean, is probably inaccurate, right? All right, let's continue. Let's move on to the article here. Okay, sanitizing the imperative. So here's what the picture says for those of you listening on the podcast. So it's a guy and a girl at dinner, right? And she says, in her words, "I will absolutely take your feelings into consideration." And then she's thinking in her head, "before I do what I want anyway." So here we go. It would appear that over this and last week, the manosphere topic du jour has been defining the feminine imperative. There's an article called "The Feminine Imperative Factor Crap," and then followed up by "How doth the Feminine Imperative Grow?" And then this week's seminal effort in redefining the feminine imperative into a more femme-friendly terms with the feminine imperative versus the womanist imperative. All of this is amounting to what's really the feminine equivalent of a circle jerk debate over semantics. The recurring theme in all these posts isn't a want for a concrete definition of what the feminine imperative is, but rather an effort to dissociate the uglier aspects of the imperative away from blaming women for the negative consequences that result from the imperative. Both for Aunt Giggles and Sunshine Mary, the overarching concern is the default scapegoating of the feminine imperative for any intergender woe a man might complain of. If this feminine concern sounds familiar, it should. It's just a new derivation of the quote-unquote biology made me do it, or Red Queen, or selfish gene biological determinism reasoning they feared would end up being men's go-to explanation for excusing their bad, i.e. non-feminine compliant behaviors. Only now the narrative isn't about the worry of men saying my selfish genes made me cheat. The message they hope to control is men complaining that, quote-unquote, the feminine imperative is what makes me a loser. That control comes in an interesting form of blaming the victim for his lack of performance in the face of the feminine imperative. The feminine imperative can't be held responsible for men's social ineptitudes, so male catch-22 is affected as the man. You're a whiny beta if you complain, but you're less than a man if you don't stick up for yourself by saying something. While I admit that that the point of origin probably started as an honest inquiry into the nature of the feminine imperative, her want of a feminine-friendly definition stems from the same desire Aunt Sue or any other female writer in the manosphere seeks when confronted with the harsh truths of game, hypergamy, the feminine imperative, and contemporary understanding of intergender dynamics. The solution to acknowledging the feminine imperative follows the same formula, as with other aspects of men becoming aware of intergender dynamics. Dissociate or dilute feminine accountability, redefine terms and sanitize those ready definitions to fall back into accordance with the feminine imperative. I predicted exactly this process of game sanitization when I wrote, "Could a man have written this? Only women are allowed to be self-critical, which of course is yet one more only women are allowed to be self-critical, which of course is yet one more social extension of the feminine imperative." And the operative idea is suck it up, guys. Yeah. So the feminine imperative isn't something to be angry about, it's something to be aware of and plan for accordingly. Up until recently, the issue has been about the awareness part of the equation. Now it's the contingency part that men are having to deal with, and by extension, so are women. The real fear isn't about anger issues, it's about the contingencies men will develop with their new awareness to circumvent the more egregious aspects of the feminine imperative and its effect on women. Some men, understandably, get mad for having invested themselves for so long in a set of social rules they believed everyone was or should be playing by, only to become aware that the game's been rigged all along. No one's actually been playing by the rules that the imperative told them, and they've lost a lot of personal investment as a result. Hypergamy and many other evolved aspects of the feminine imperative are certainly instinctual, largely unlearned survival factors that contribute to our species' success. However, the uglier, intrinsically unfair dynamics like concurrent CUCKing, violent mate guarding, the war brides dynamic, and even women's inborn bedroom fun pluralism are aspects most men wouldn't voluntarily sign up for if they knew the machinations behind them, or they had an inclination of how their SMV will progressively mature. Alright, back to the video here.
As long as there are two parents, there is literally no statistical difference in the child's upbringing.
That's actually not true. Look at the paragraph here, and it even says that there were added risks. So what that means is that it's not the same, it's actually worse. But it is still better than single mother households. That's the implication here, not what Hasan's saying, actually. By the actual paragraph here, just read it.
Totally made up. It is a completely made up, nonsensical position, only backed by your biases. The only...
No, Hasan, your position is actually not true and backed by your biases, because you didn't even read the full paragraph there.
The only reason why Jordan Peterson can get away with this shit is because you want to believe it, because it kind of makes sense. It's like common sense, right?
We know this is indisputable, and this is something I've talked to Warren Farrell about. Kids in intact heterosexual families where the father is present do way better on multiple indices than...
You know what's funny, actually, is families with two dads actually do better than families with two moms. You can look it up. Just go to Google Scholar and look it up. And what that says about men, just think about that, okay? Again, look it up on Google Scholar.
Kids who are part of single parent families.
Yeah, he's talking about single parent families versus, versus two parent household with man and with husband and wife. Of course, yeah, the intact household does better. Let's see what Hasan's saying here.
Bullshit! Again, notice how he hid the truth? The argument isn't about single parent versus two parent households. The argument is about two parent households where parents are gay. The argument is not about whether two parent households are the same as like single parent households. Of course, there are other complications with single parent households. You son of a bitch. He is...
Yeah, he dodged the question. It's true, but I mean, I've made the argument here, right? So, single parent households do worse than any kind of two parent household. And if you look it up, just look up on Google Scholar, two men parenting versus two women parenting versus heterosexual.
Fucking doing that. The data does not single out heterosexual two-parent households. That's bullshit.
Now, that doesn't mean that there are no single parents who do a good job, right? That's not the same bloody claim. Those are different claims. But on average, not only do kids where fathers are present do better, but societies, or even local societies, where there are more fathers present do better, not only for the kids that they're fathering, but the kids in the neighborhood where there are lots of...
You know what's funny, actually? That this doesn't it doesn't actually defeat the idea that two men households do better than two women households. It's actually supported and by Jordan's own argument here. Funnily enough, right? Because again, just think of single mother households versus single father households. Single father households actually have pretty good outcomes. Of course, a couple taking care of the children does do better, but single mother compared to single father is not close. It's better for single father. Again, you can just look it up, Google Scholar. You don't have to listen to my words here.
Intact families with fathers do better. And
now, guys, I just want to take the time to read, like, if you read the Twitch chat and this guy's comments here, in Hasan's comments, it's like they just blindly agree with Hasan. Doesn't matter what he says. Which means, like, again, it's just an echo chamber, right? And in echo chambers, bad stuff happens. That's how it goes.
So
I believe. Notice how he did not mention gay parents at all. The question is,
He avoided it.
gay parent adoption. He did not talk about that. He immediately went into talking about the difference between two parents versus one parent. What? Are gay parents always single parents? Is that what you're fucking saying? You are a gross person for saying that. That is the same shit that Ben Shapiro does all
It's just politician strategy, right? That's what he did. He avoided the topic.
the fucking time. This is not an argument. You're not making an argument about the question. Disgusting that Jordan Peterson does this shit. Jordan Peterson unfolds his deranged theory of inceldom, whereby Chads get all the women in this horrific society. So that has to be changed. Joe Rogan points out this contradicts his rage whining about equality of outcome being Stalinism, and Peterson is literally
That is
stunned.
what happened.
Yeah, when you get owned by my man, when you get owned by this guy, you know you fucked up.
Is that a small minority of men have all the sexual opportunity, a fairly large minority of men don't. The women are unhappy because they can't find a committed relationship. It's bad for most of the men, and the men who have all the sexual opportunity get cynical.
That's exactly right. That's literally, that describes the SMP perfectly. That what Jordan just described.
But isn't this in some ways against your whole idea of equality of outcome? Because you're
Jordan believes in equality of outcome? I don't think he does. What? I don't understand. Okay, let's see what he's saying.
you're talking about equality.
My man applies the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, to the sexual marketplace. And he literally wants to equalize the playing field for men by hitting traditionalist values.
Right.
This is why he was so good with incels, because this is literally what incels believe. Like, incels want to go back to traditional values.
Right. So a person that wants to go back to traditional values, they automatically can't get laid, right? That's you just, like, Hasan just immediately attacks the character of men that, you know, want to go back to traditional values because, I mean, who knows, right? Okay. Anyway, nice ad hominem, Hasan.
Because they think that they'll have a better opportunity to fuck women if that's the case. If they're
They demonstrably true that they will. If you consider our history, the history of human civilization for the last 5,000 years, demonstrably true.
parents are forcing them into these traditional patriarchal bonds that people were subjected to in the past.
Quality of sexual outcome now. If these men, if you,
See,
you
that's
have a
the
guy
point- that's
like
the
a
point she was
LeBron
actually-
James that's a dominant basketball player that just kicks everyone's ass, this is a guy who succeeded at the highest level, right? Well, there's going to be people like that sexually. There's
That's
going
right.
to be people that are better at finding mates.
That's right.
And this is what they enjoy.
That's
Actually,
right.
what does happen.
But what
because
is
there's-
wrong with that?
Well, what's wrong with that is it destabilizes society. That's what's wrong with that. Like, what's wrong with that is it destabilizes society. It's not getting owned. Like what? Yeah. Like, Joe is not making a real argument other than saying what's wrong with it. I'll tell you what's wrong with it. What's wrong with it is if a small fraction of men get all of the bedroom fun opportunity and all these girls are getting alpha widowed, what happens is, down the line, when these girls have marriages, they're not able to enjoy them because they're all caught up on Chad. And so the society gets destabilized because of this degenerate behavior, right? Which needs to be curbed.
What's wrong with it is that it destabilizes society and it's bad for children.
Like,
Right.
You destabilize society.
It does.
If I can't get my dick wet now.
That's not the same argument. In fact, Jordan argues against getting your whatever wet. He argues for traditional values, which is basically arranged marriage, right? That's not the same thing, Hasan. Again, this is straw man argument, right? He's saying, Hasan is saying what he thinks Jordan is saying, but that's not what Jordan is saying.
Now you have officially not only said that the solution to inceldom is like traditional enforcement of traditional societal rules, rigorous patriarchal gender constructs. But then also on top of that, he's justifying these whiny fucking babies who are...
It's not being a whiny baby to acknowledge reality. in 2022. Oh, yeah. Like, what's Hasan saying? He's saying, just do better, bro. Like, that's... When you make the SMP free and open, what happens is 80% of men become invisible. When 80% of men become invisible to the average woman, what happens? What happens is society destabilizes and crumples. So what then happens? What happens is the then crumpled society has to bring in immigrants because they have no choice. Because those people who come from other countries that have more conservative cultures actually have children. Because when society is crumpled and destabilized, they don't have children. And they don't marry. The marriage rate in 2022 is 6 out of 1,000. There's a reason for that. It's because of this deregulated SMP. It's not a joke. It's not whiny baby stuff. Hasan, society is literally collapsing around you, and because you are an attractive, successful man, you're not acknowledging it. Because you are one of the guys that is enjoying it. So you're like a conservative. You're like, screw all you guys. I got mine, so whatever.
Constantly crying about not getting pussy. He's saying that if that doesn't happen, you're destabilizing society.
Yeah.
Bullshit, motherfucker.
No.
Bullshit.
It's not. It's really not. Because our biology is the root of everything. So if men can't get laid, what happens is men revert to their feral nature in order to get it. So what happens? What happens is these men resort to violence then to get laid. Not immediately. Not immediately. And maybe not even directly. What happens is you get a guy that comes into power and they say, a guy who's that you can vote for, and he says, I will reinstate X, Y, Z if you vote for me. And there you go. You have a revolution on your hands, right? Because all a dictator type person has to say is that, right? So it's not a joke to have this sort of problem. It's not a joke. It's a huge problem. And it's not being a whiny baby. Human beings' biological imperative is to reproduce. When there is no, when men can't reproduce, society is destabilized. That is I don't know what to tell you. Hasan's argument is, wah, you're just upset you can't get laid. That's not what Jordan is saying.
Just using, again, the patina of intellectualism on regular
False.
old internet fucking forum incel nonsense.
False.
It's so hard to disconnect from JP because he really helped me get out of the depressions of my youth, but I've kind of had notions of what you've pointed out for a while, and you're right. It's because he served you slop, brother. Self-help can have the capacity to be really...
Okay, we're done with this nonsense. All right, let's go to the Reddit post here. Being forced to break up with my girlfriend. I've been with my girlfriend since May of this year. I'm 26 and she's 20. I have a twin brother who's also with his significant other since 2021. For context, me and my brother are of Indian descent and my bro's GF is Filipino. My GF is white. Also, she's quite childish and speaks her mind. So when they met her, they were both taken back. They're like, ew, she's childish and doesn't know how to act around people. I agree she has some anxiety and awkwardness and sometimes can come off as weird to some people. Well, that's how she's been with all her family members. My bro and his GF has said that she's not good for me, but they don't know how much she's done for me. Once I drank so much and I had to be taken to the hospital, she literally dropped everything and came to see me and stay with me despite a job. That's how much caring she is. But they just don't get it. They've been asking me to break it off with her as my bro's GF doesn't like her at all. It creates an awkward scene when she's over as my bro and his GF just ignore her. It's kind of annoying and upsetting to see how they treat her. It feels like they think they're above her and she's below them and they don't have the decency to talk to her. Whereas... here I try to talk to his girlfriend. I have to be present at least. I don't know what to do in this situation. I'm just lost. This is tough, guys. Like, I don't know what to say. He hasn't given enough information for me to make like accurate advice in this situation. I'm not able to give accurate advice here. Let's see. 1,000 upvotes. I fail to see how you're being forced to break up with it. Just stay in the relationship and tell your brother and his significant other it's your choice and none of their business that you expect them to treat it respectfully. Yeah, I don't know. All right, I'm done here. So again, guys, thank you so much for listening. Again, if you're new to the channel, liking the content, hit that subscribe, hit all for notifications. If you'd like to support me, I do have a Patreon with exclusive content, patreon.com/theheliosblog. Just go there and subscribe to the Nebula tier. Again, it's patreon.com/theheliosblog. You could also drop me a donation like Tom M here. Link is in the description. Thanks so much, guys, for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. You guys are wonderful, and I will see you next time.